The opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cable 14, its sponsors, or its shareholders, Cogeco Cable, Shaw Cable, and Source Cable Limited.
And welcome to the January 4th edition of For the Record. And on FTR today, it's the Opinionators. I am Larry Deani, and here is what we'll be talking about today. 2011 was POLLercoaster for political parties. Hospital CEO salaries, what is the party line on these salaries? And seeing red over orange, all that and the lightning round too. So let's meet our panel. And of course, we welcome them back to the new year. Tara Crugnale, representing the Conservative Party. Hi, Tara.
Hi, Larry.
And you've just come back from Amsterdam. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And Ron Corsini of the Liberal Party. Hi, Ron.
Happy New Year, Larry, and Happy New Year to everyone out there.
And of course, representing the NDP is Alex Johnstone. Alex, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You're just back from Kincardine. How was it there?
It was a little bit cold, a little bit colder than Hamilton.
But no snow there either.
Not very much, no.
Well, listen, panel, we've got a full plate ahead of us today. And let's start. We're going to begin with the polls that are really fluctuating for the federal parties. I think it's fair to say that the Conservatives are still holding their own. They're the government, after all. The Liberals are doing better. And the NDP seems to have plunged, especially in Quebec, where they hold most of their seats. And let's start with you, Alex. Is this attributable to the race, the leadership race, or what's happening?
Well, it's funny because you said that the Conservatives were holding their own when in fact they have actually dropped the most since the last federal election. I think that what's curious is that right after the election you actually saw the Conservatives start to dip. With the NDP, they actually did hold on to, at 28% until I guess basically it was November that when the leadership started, and that's when you started to see our polls decline. But we've actually, we are holding fairly strong. We did see the Liberals, they started to pick up, but unfortunately all their gains made in October were lost in December, and they're now almost 10 points behind the NDP. Oh.
Ron, what do you say to that?
Well, we went through a very turbulent time last year with polls going up and down, and you had the Tories peaking right at the exact moment of the election. So they were fortunate enough that that's when they peaked and people voted the Tories back in to govern Canada. You look at the NDP have been slipping ever since the late Jack Layton was lost from the party.
That's not true.
So they haven't been holding their own. Even in Quebec, they've been dropping. And I see the Liberals as increasing, even though Alex says that possibly in December that they did decrease about 10 points. But polls are polls, and if you look at the graphs from last year, you see them going in all different directions. You see them when they're peaking, and you see them when they're falling. So do a lot of people believe or take into account polls? I don't know. I hear some politicians say, nah, I don't believe the polls, whatever they say this one day, they say the next. And then it depends on which polling organization did the poll, whether the party did the poll or Decima or one of the other people that did the poll. So really, do we really pay that much attention to polls? I think we do because we're political pundits and this is what we look for. But you look at them, and it's very interesting, some of them, when they peaked and when they decreased.
Well, Ron pointed out, Tara, that the Conservatives peaked around election time. Some people would say that's the only time it matters.
Well, Ron, Larry, really, the only polls I care about are the ones that show my party on top. And I think that's what goes for most of us. We'll always dismiss the other ones, saying, well, it was too small a percentage of people that they looked at, or various reasons why their party didn't do well. But I would like to counter Alex and say that our party has remained fairly stable throughout this year. the other parties have gone up and down, and this isn't just a federal prediction. This happened provincially too. We saw Tim Hudak falter terribly during the October election, and that really brought down the hopes of the Conservative Party provincially. I don't know what 2012 has in store for the other parties, but I would suggest that the Conservatives are going to remain fairly stable again this year, especially with the leadership races for the Liberals and the NDP federally. And in truth, I think we can all agree that it doesn't matter what the polls are saying this year, next year, or even the third year of government. It's just gonna matter next time around, next election year. That's when we're really going to have to start looking at the polls again.
Well, that's too bad to hear that Harper doesn't care what the people have to say in between elections, that the polls don't matter, because it is a direct reflection of how it's a pulse on the nation, where people are at. I think, though, that it's important to note that the Conservatives have dropped 6% since the federal election, whereas NDP and Liberal have only dropped 3%.
What are you talking about? Look at the NDP.
You have to look at the polls, the December polling, and it isn't just about individual polls. It's over the long run, what are the trends? And the trends have consistently been that since the federal election, the Conservatives are polling worse than they were this time last year.
Well, you look at different provinces too. There are different polls pertaining to a different province. In Quebec, we see the NDP drop a little bit. When sometimes we may see that increase in some of the western provinces, and the Liberals also. So I've seen the Liberals just climb steadily. And really, the NDP and Liberal situation, leaderless now, have really, especially the Liberals, have really maintained their own.
All right. Well, I suspect that we're going to be talking about polls right up to election day, but as you pointed out, federally at least, that's not for a number of years yet. Let's turn the channel on this discussion and talk about what's been in the news lately, and that is the salaries of CEOs, and especially hospital CEOs that have just been revealed. And of course, your party, Alex, and let's start with you again, has been calling for a rollback in salaries, or at least some control on what Andrea Horwath has described as outrageous salaries. Is that still the position you hold?
Absolutely. There was a press release even today by Andrea Horwath where she was asking for, our hospital CEO salaries to be capped at $460,000. And just to put that into perspective, it's not any different than the other provinces, where you have BC, where none of the CEOs make, the closest they make is $470,000. So it's not, I think that Ontario needs to, I guess, bring it down and start reflecting what the other provinces are doing. But it's not just the salaries. There was all kinds of other lucrative benefits where there was car payments being made, where there was private memberships being bought. I guess my problem here is that, well, the rest of the province is being told to tighten its belt. Anytime a union or a factory worker asks to just maintain its wages, the other parties cry, oh, we're going to go bankrupt. But with the CEOs, it's like, with all these freebies, it's like Halloween. We're just giving away all these benefits, and it's not right.
Well, Tara, she didn't say gravy train. Would you say gravy train?
Anytime that we hear about a salary being over $400,000, I think all of us just stare at it with eyes wide open. Not even the Prime Minister makes that much. So how can you suggest that any one person deserves that? It's very simplistic, though, the NDP view, though, that you have to cap all of these salaries at $400 and something odd thousand. The role of a CEO of one of these organizations is tremendous, and it takes a very special person to operate the hospitals and to try to save us money and to try to bring down wait times. Do I agree with all of the extras that they have? Absolutely not. But these are people that are exemplary in their field, and they could probably make more in the private sector. So perhaps in this case, it is acceptable. I think that 3/4 of the pays, though, I don't think anybody really had a problem with. There were a few examples, and they are, of course, going to be the ones that are paraded out in the media. But as a whole, I'd have to let this one slide.
And Ron, your party's in power provincially. They could do something about this. Are they?
Yes, they can, and I believe it's up to the hospital board of directors to rein in some of the perks that some of the CEOs are getting. You have to understand, though, that you look at St. Joe's Hospital, and Dr. Smith runs not only St. Joe's Hospital in Hamilton and the new psychiatric hospital on the mountain, but also Guelph, Kitchener. I mean, St. Joseph's Hospital hospitals are vast, and so he is overseeing maybe 10,000 employees. Same thing with Hamilton Health Sciences. I mean, this is one person running a corporation, and healthcare is our biggest employer here in Hamilton. So it is not an easy job. And I understand that people are turned off by some of the perks. And from what I'm reading, some of those perks, especially geared towards your promotions are geared towards your performance, and those things are being looked at very carefully. So I know, and I understand all that these things have to be looked at, but this is something for the Hamilton Board of Directors of the hospitals to look at. And I'm with Tara on this one. You know, these people are exemplary. They run vast corporations, and if they don't get the salary here, someone else is going to steal them because of their knowledge and their skills.
And you know, I don't think it's fair to Ron. I just wanted to continue there. I don't think it's fair to really compare Ontario to the other provinces, because we've got a much, I think, more diverse population and populous population than any other province. So I think that our healthcare system is a little bit more complex than that of
that doesn't
BC
make any
or
sense.
other
Absolutely.
provinces.
Their hospitals aren't any bigger than ours. You know, I think where the NDP is coming from is that we should remain competitive. But when you have
You're
other
just
provinces,
trying to use this as a political token statement.
oh my gosh,
That's
when you
what-
have
that's
other
what you're
provinces
doing.
that aren't even making, where their CEOs don't make over $500,000, yet
And
in
how many
Ontario,
employees are in those
we
hospitals?
pay
How many employees
we pay
are in those
over
hospitals?
760,000. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Are there
Why?
You know, these people
10,000
have already
Why
been
is
on
it
the sunshine
that,
list. We've known about them.
The
It's
hospital
the perks
size,
that are the issue.
the hospital sizes are similar, you know, from province to province, especially
Really?
in the main city centers.
Hamilton
Absolutely.
Health Sciences
I've lived-
employs
that's
over
news to me, Alex.
10,000 people.
The Fraser Institute in BC is definitely, you know, on similar mass to any of the major hospitals in downtown Toronto. I mean, it's same within Montreal. Like, it's ridiculous to argue that that Ontario CEOs should be paid
sorry.
more just because they're from Ontario.
Your
I
party
don't
has
believe
a
that
very
that's the point at
simplistic
all.
view.
Well, that's
of
what
this
it sounded
issue.
All right,
No,
well,
it's
listen,
not
let
because
me
they're just from
let me
Ontario.
introduce a variation on the theme, still sticking to costs and healthcare. There's an organization that maybe Ontarians really didn't know about, and it's called ORNGE, and it's essentially an emergency air transport organization that recently revealed that their CEO was making $1.4 million a year. And he was a medical doctor, or a doctor at least, and was making that. And then when that was revealed, he quickly resigned, apparently, for whatever reason. How would you control those costs, Ron?
Well, when I started reading into this organization that is supposed to be a not-for-profit, charitable organization, and I certainly wouldn't make any donations to this organization when the CEO is making $1.4 million. This is an organization that transports patients. It picks up patients from accident scenes as an air ambulance. It's an air ambulance service. But and reading into it, it's just getting more complicated and all the time. And I'm really pleased that the Auditor General is looking into this, and that the Ontario government is certainly looking into this and looking deep on how this organization is run, the aircraft that they own, their involvement with the Italian aircraft company in Rome, in Italy, that they purchased these helicopters from, and the spin-offs from what this organization wants to do. It's very complicated, and I'm very pleased that the government is looking into it. And it was very weird that that Dr. Mazza is on sick leave once his salary was disclosed. But it's not only his salary; it's all the other perks from the executives of this organization.
Okay, Ron, I'm going to move you along only because we're running out of time. I want to give the other two a chance as well. Alex, you go.
Okay, thanks. I guess, this is just another example of what happens when you start contracting out and privatizing your services that you depend on. You end up having, helicopters sitting idle, 2 pilots sitting idle because there wasn't enough paramedics available. These are, over 200 times there was phone calls made requesting the use of the helicopter, and the helicopter wasn't able to respond because there wasn't any paramedics available. So these were situations where, calls that were not answered to, and that's just not right in this province, especially for our northern communities where most of these calls were going to up past Sudbury. It's not fair to leave these families, in dire straits, and sometimes, life-threatening situations that may lead to death because there's not enough paramedics around. It's just simply not right. I am happy that the governor, or that the Attorney General is investigating this, but this should not have happened in the first place.
All right, Tara?
There should have been more care on the part of the Liberal government to look at what was happening right in front of their eyes. It's disgusting when you look at the way that this organization has been claiming that it's not for profit, and all of a sudden we find out that it has different for-profit business arms, that it's got dealings, like Ron was talking about, with different governments, and backwards and forwards of business dealings and such. It's just like a novella unfolding before our eyes, and really there has to be a stop to this, and it gives public-private partnerships a really bad name because they're not supposed to operate in this manner. The government is supposed to look at where their money is being spent. They're supposed to be responsible for our tax dollars.
Well, the Liberal Party, it's been one disaster after another, e-health, ORNGE, and certainly with the lotto industry. And I think that, you have to wonder, does Dalton McGuinty just love being in the paper?
No,
because
things happen in government, and then government fixes them.
How many times, Ron? Dalton, get a hold of your government and start paying attention to your ministries and where your money's going.
Tim Hudak tried to bring these things to light, and people didn't want to listen, so you're stuck with it for another 4 years.
I somehow knew that it was all going to be pinned on Dalton McGuinty, and maybe that's appropriate since he's the premier, after all, Ron. Let's not be sensitive about that. But listen, we're going to go now to the lightning round. And before we do, can I just explain an innovation that we've introduced into it? And it has to do with this sound. When you hear this sound panel, that means your time is up on that particular topic. So remember, this sound means your time is up on that particular topic, all right? And we've got 3 topics we want to talk about. And we're going to start with you, Tara. And it has to do with the tuition cuts that were promised by Dalton McGuinty, and he's implementing them. There was some skepticism around that. What do you think? I
think that there's still skepticism. It's costing too much money, something like $420 million for the first year, $480 million the next year. It's not really 30%. It's $1,600 flat rate sent to the universities. It's not like the students are getting the money in return. It's not available to everyone, and heck, I wouldn't want it to be because it's my tax dollar. It's money that is not being well spent. We can't afford this, and I think I'm done before the bell.
Very good.
Oh, there it
is. And of course, $1,600, Alex, would be welcome to students at any level, but certainly university. What do you make of it?
Well, it is welcome, except for the fact that Ontario has the highest tuition rates, so it makes a dent, but not much. I will say, though, that it's lies. People feel that they were lied to. You had people, students and their parents, voting for Dalton McGuinty and the Liberals because of this, tuition decrease, this promise, and it's not coming to fruition. It's people are really outraged by this, and rightly so.
Very good, and there goes the time is just up as well. You were saved not by the bell, but by your own internal bell. Ron?
Really? I mean,
promise made, promise kept.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what he campaigned on, and he's kept his promise, and he's forwarding these tax credits to these students. I mean, everyone's complaining about high tuition costs and this and that. What do you want? Free education, Alex? To the NDP, will they give free education to all these
but we
college
keep our
and university students?
promises.
This is what he campaigned on, and this is what he's delivering.
Very good.
And people are complaining about it.
And
you're not delivering.
Your internal clocks are really working well because we haven't had to use the bell at all yet. But the second topic, and we're going to start with you, Ron, as a Liberal in the group, has to do with the Liberal leadership. Mr. Ray, who's the acting leader, promised when he accepted the job that he wouldn't run for leader. But he's getting so much encouragement because he's doing such a good job that he may change his mind. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know. I think he made a deal not to run. I would like him to run, but the Liberals right now are searching for a leader that could lead the party. Although Bob Ray has done an excellent job as interim leader, he did make this deal. If the party wishes to renege on it and elect him as leader of the party, then so be it.
Well, Alex, you've got to be happy because he was a premier of an NDP government, and he seems to be doing quite well advancing social causes at the federal level. What do you make of his pledge not to run as leader?
Well, I like to tease you and Ron that that you have Ray now, and which is of course amusing because the Liberals spent years flogging us for all the mistakes of Ray government. But I think though that I do have a lot of respect for Ray. He did do a number of great things, and he is a marvelous politician. He's doing great things for the Liberal Party. I think they would be wise to go with stick with a good thing.
All right. And Tara, however, is he the answer to the Prime Minister's dreams? Because I'm sure those negative ads are being prepared even as we speak.
I'm making them up on YouTube right now, Larry. I think that he was a disaster as Premier of the province. His saving grace is that he understood that that even though he believed in the NDP platform, it was impossible to put into effect because it was rubbish. So he left that party. He's gone now to the Liberals, and he's dealing with those issues. And perhaps when he reaches the age of 75, he'll realize that he should be a Conservative. But we won't want him at that point anyway.
Not suggesting in the least that all Conservatives are over 75, though, are you? No, I'm just teasing.
I'm 83, so.
I am just teasing. And the final point, it seems like we're picking on Liberals today, and it has to do with Michael Ignatieff, and maybe we'll go to you on this one, Alex. He resurfaced. He wrote an essay about fairness in politics, and he made some interesting points, but not everybody sees it that way. What do you think? Should Iggy just sort of pack it up and stay at his university, or is it fair that he comments on issues as he sees fit?
I think he should continue commenting. I think that's what he's good at and where he should be. He wasn't by any means a good leader, certainly not for the Liberals, but I think that his comments are welcomed, and especially because he's asking certainly Americans to look at taxing the rich and corporations their fair share in order to save the country.
And Ron, what do you make of Iggy's reappearance?
Well, I think he should continue to make comments, and I welcome them. I read this article with great interest, and what he was saying is that there has to be a change coming. We have to protect the middle class in Canada, restore some integrity in government. And he was treated so unfairly in the past federal government by the Conservatives in their smear campaign that Michael Ignatieff is a bright person.
I knew it was going to happen, and you made your point, Ron, but there you go. The bell told you that that's enough.
Okay,
yeah.
I accept that.
Tara, you were away this past holiday, and you went to
Do I get
and
to
Amsterdam.
answer? Do I get to answer about Iggy, Larry?
Oh, of course you do.
There you go. I'll be very quick. He belongs in the world of academia. Iggy's a very intelligent person. He's very eloquent and uses a lot of words to explain very simple theories. I didn't find much in that article, but it was lots of pretty words.
Well,
That's too bad. Too bad for you.
Too bad. I know. You know what? It's
Too
just
bad, 'cause it was a
after
great
having
article.
after
All right,
dealing
all right.
with him in university for all those
We'll
years.
help explain those big words to
All
you.
right,
Yes.
but listen, this is not
to
for
you.
debate, and apologize, Tara. I thought we had started with you, but thank you for your comments. But you did go away this past holiday, and you went to Hamburg and Amsterdam, and you brought some souvenirs. Let's show them.
I brought some souvenirs for Alex.
There you go. Where's this?
I don't see it.
Oh, okay. It's a scene of a tent. It's a
That one.
Yes.
That one is in Amsterdam. That's in Amsterdam. There were 3 tents. That's New Year's Eve.
And is that Occupy Amsterdam?
That is Occupy Amsterdam. And let me tell you that they even had a little bar set up there, and they were selling alcohol. So I guess that's part of the whole Occupy.
Amsterdam, they're selling alcohol.
That's the only...
Imagine. I don't know what else they
Wow.
were selling in that
Well,
little
listen,
tent.
that's
but
the only way
Anything
to
to make it
occupy.
there were
fly.
commodities for sale.
That's the only way. Here's the
And
next
then
slide.
this one is in Hamburg, Germany. This one was a little bit bigger. I didn't see anyone. I just saw a lot of tents, and then one angry person in a dated cowboy hat that was following
They were
me
hiding
around.
from you, Tara.
I guess they were,
You
but I
scared them.
wanted to bring you some pictures to show you that
All right, and the next
I'm
slide?
still
I like it.
around.
The next
Do we have
slide?
another one?
Oh, that's it. Those are the
No,
slides
that's
that we've
that's
got.
all we've got. But
All right.
the
Thank you so
occupation
much.
lives on in Europe.
Well, listen, thank you very much, panel, for starting the year with some interesting observations. And of course, that is the Opinionators on For the Record. For today, we are going to come back on January the 4th. I am Larry Deani. And I remind you, a programming note, that tomorrow night, Thursday night, at 10 p.m., Hamilton Talks is going to talk with a Hamilton activist by the name of Graham Crawford. Please watch that as well. And thank you for tuning in to the Opinionators.
Tara Cronali's Hair by Ludi Mamoda Hair and Aesthetic Studio, 169 James Street North in downtown Hamilton.